EMS star, Clearcreek Fire District. Shots fired! Officer down! The radio traffic every dispatcher and law enforcement officer dreads went out in Clearcreek Township on July 12, 2022. Officer Eric Ney, a 14-year veteran, and another officer were dispatched to a domestic violence call. They were told a man was ramming his wife's car with an ATV. They arrived to find an agitated man who almost immediately pulled out a gun and shot Officer Ney in the face. His fellow officer neutralized the shooter and ran to Ney's side to render aid. That officer's frantic radio call went to the Warren County Communications, which dispatched Clearcreek Fire and EMS. At the time, crews were not aware of the extent of Officer Ney's injuries. They arrived at the scene in 4 minutes and found officers applying pressure to the bullet wound, trying to stop the profuse bleeding. They were also doing their best to keep Officer Ney calm, but the bullet had caused a traumatic brain injury, which gradually made him combative. The EMS team established an IV and prepared him for transport. However, they could not control the bleeding. As paramedics worked to treat Officer Ney's injuries, the Clearcreek engine crew set up a landing zone for care flight, who arrived at the scene within 14 minutes from the time they were dispatched. By this time, Ney's airway had become compromised, and the care flight crew worked with the Clearcreek paramedics to get him intubated on their first attempt. Flight nurse Victor Thornburg called it the most difficult intubation of his career. Once Officer Ney was intubated, crews transferred him to the helicopter, and he was rapidly transported to the Level 1 Trauma Center at Miami Valley Hospital in Dayton, just 8 minutes after the landing at the scene of the shooting. The prognosis was not good. Studies show 71% of patients who suffer a gunshot wound to the head die at the scene. Once the patient arrives at the trauma center, the survival rate is just 51%. But Officer Ney continued to fight and beat the odds. Today, Eric Ney is home with his wife and family. It took months of surgery and intensive rehabilitation on his road to recovery. He suffered permanent damage that ended his law enforcement career, but he's grateful to have a second chance at life and more time with his children. There is no doubt that the focused and fearless efforts of his fellow officers, firefighters, EMS personnel, and flight nurses, the chain of survival, are what helped save Eric Ney's life.